What's up, guys? Rick here with your betting preview for this week's Ryder Cup. Quick housekeeping note, the live chat for this week is going to be Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's right. Instead of the normal Wednesday time slot, because this event starts on Friday, the live chat is going to be on Thursday. And hopefully we are getting more indication of who will be playing with who come Friday morning. So here in this preview, we're just going to talk through all the different types of bets. The Ryder Cup is essentially the Super Bowl. When it comes to betting options for golf, there are a bunch of props and exact score stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. It's a great team aspect. Let's jump into the betting board. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here, and this is oddschecker.com. I do a video preview with them, Jeff Feinberg and myself, every single week, and what I like is they just give you the grid, right? So you can see what the odds are at all the different books. A lot of these books, I have an offer for free bets on, so if you go to RickRunGood.com/bets, a lot of these books, and like Caesars specifically, offering up to $5,000 in free bets. It's absolutely crazy what they're doing right now. But let's just start with kind of what everybody always wants to know, who's going to win. And the United States team is the favorite. The best odds that you can get on the USA team is at BetMGM. They're minus 185. If you look at the European side, basically across the board, plus 200. Now, here at Circa, I saw them at plus 210, and I will tell you, I took it. Don't hit me with the patriotism takes. This is a straight value bet on a team that I think is very, very live at plus 210. And let's talk through how I got to that decision. Number one, the case to be made for the Americans almost starts and ends at raw talent, right? That's the case, raw talent. You've got some guys that aren't particularly playing well at the moment. Jordan Spieth struggled recently. Colin Morikawa has struggled recently. You have some guys that clearly don't get along. Brooks versus everybody else. You've got Bryson there lingering as well. There's just a lot of concern. You've got 6 rookies on the team, but the good news is they're by far more talented than the European team. However, the Ryder Cup match play, alternate shot specifically, it's a game of trust. It is a game of everyone pulling in the same direction. It's why Europe has won 7 of the last 9 of these, despite probably being dogs in all but one of them. And what I actually think is kind of going a little bit overlooked here, there's this discussion around setting up Whistling Straits to benefit the American team. And it's certainly going to benefit the American team because it's going to be long. It's going to be 7,300 yards as a par 71. There's going to be a couple of really diabolical holes. They're going to be super, super long. But if you look at the regression model that I have at RickRunGood.com, driving distance, definitely very important. Strokes gained off the tee, critical. Now, strokes gained off the tee is made up of both distance and accuracy. Well, if you look at strokes gained off the tee for the last 365 days for the players who are going to be teeing it up here. Here, let me do this on my website. So September 1st of 2020 for players in this field and sort them by strokes gained off the tee. Bryson DeChambeau is number 1. No surprise there. The next 5 golfers are European. Jon Rahm, Sergio Garcia, Victor Hovland, Rory McIlroy, Matt Fitzpatrick. There is a freedom to being the underdog. There is a freedom to not being expected to win this. And what do we see in match play? We see this at the WGC. We see this all the time. This is the most volatile form of golf that we get. Alternate shot, best ball, which is 4-ball. The Sunday singles, 18 holes in match play. It's very, very volatile. So I opted to go with the European side. I got it at plus 210. Plus 200, I think, is a very good number. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. Do I feel bad about rooting for the Europe team? No. Do I think there's good value on it? For sure. Do I think they're being overlooked? Absolutely. But there's other props here that I think are equally as fascinating. So let's get to a couple of those. Hey guys, real quick, not sure if you heard, but Caesars bought William Hill and they have now rebranded the William Hill Sportsbook as Caesars Sportsbook. And because of this, they're going absolutely bonkers outside their mind with promotions. And the big one is that they're offering $5,000 in free bets. That is not an exaggeration. You did not mishear me. $5,000. It's the highest I've ever seen. It is by far, I'm sure, the highest any book has offered since gambling has become legalized state by state. It's absolutely nuts. You don't have to use it for golf. You can use it for whatever. Go to RickRunGood.com/bets. See if it's available in your state. I'll keep you updated as more states roll out. I know there's a couple coming on the horizon here, but my goodness, it is something you should definitely be taking advantage of if you have not yet. Let's start with top U.S. point scorer. So basically, to be the top point scorer, you're probably going to need about 3.5 points, something like that. So opportunity is going to be a big one because you can only play 5 matches or 5 sessions in total if you play every single one. Justin Thomas is the clear-cut favorite. He's 6-1. BetMGM has him at 6-1. A couple places do as well, Caesars. The idea is JT is almost certainly going to play 5 matches, which he has in the one Ryder Cup that he's played and in the 2 President's Cups that he has played. He's played all 5 matches in all of them. With a great pairing like Jordan Spieth, he is certainly going to do the same thing this time around. Now, would you be willing to bet Spieth here at 7.5-1? Because presumably he's going to get as many points as Justin Thomas is through the 4-ball and foursome sessions of this. But then we're going to have to figure out the single situation. And there's this kind of really interesting little nugget here. And let me pull this up for you. Jordan Spieth in Sunday singles across Ryder Cups and President's Cups, 0-6. Yeah, has never won a singles match. Has never even halved a singles match, which is concerning. And there's actually some data to back this up that the guys who play 5 matches struggle more in singles than their peers, which is kind of interesting. You think some fatigue might be setting in as well. So that's kind of the difference between maybe those 2 prices there between Justin Thomas at 6-1 and Jordan Spieth at 7.5-1. Now, I think there's a couple of other interesting bets that I would make here. Patrick Cantlay at 7.5-1 to me is I don't want to say a must bet, but basically a must bet. He has a really good partnership, likely with Xander Schauffele. He's likely to play 4 or 5 matches. He is devastating to play in match play if the putter gets hot. Otherwise, he's just good. He shows no emotion. You're not going to rattle him. He plays kind of slow. He would just be a very difficult guy to play in match play. He's 7.5-1. That's one bet that I would make. A much more volatile bet, and this has actually been steamed over the course of the last couple of days, is Bryson DeChambeau. So here's what you need to be prepared for. On Friday morning or Thursday night, when we get the Friday morning pairings, you need to be quick here. You're going to be able to be faster than the books for sure. You're going to be able to get out there and beat the books if they move any of these numbers. But if you see Bryson DeChambeau go out Friday morning, I think you have to bet this at 9-1. He is going to be kind of a hot hand type player. Think about his skill set. Remove everything that you know about Bryson DeChambeau off the golf course and think about what he does on the golf course. He makes a ton of birdies and he makes a ton of bogeys. In 4-ball, that's okay, because your partner probably picks you up a lot of the time. You make a lot of birdies. You're very, very valuable. Alternate shot, that's a little bit more concerning, but don't you think there are going to be a couple of guys on the American team who are dying to play with the longest hitter on the PGA Tour? I'm thinking yes. I'm thinking, hey, put me in some spots that I've never been before. He's also a very, very good putter, which is kind of devastatingly good in some of these formats. So I'd be very interested to see if he goes out Friday morning, you're going to get an indication of how many matches he's going to play. The other thing to note here is who will Bryson play with? At this point in the week, I'm thinking it's Scottie Scheffler. I'm recording this Tuesday morning. We have seen a couple of press conferences. We've seen a couple of practice rounds where they kind of go out in groups of 4. I'm thinking the likely scenario is Scottie Scheffler. I also thought that Daniel Berger and Harris English would be good matches for that, but we might see Scottie Scheffler out there. He's 16-1 to be the top American. If him and Bryson get hot, they might just stay together all week long. And Scottie Scheffler at 16-1 to be your top U.S. point scorer is not all that bad, right? Maybe he plays 4 times with Bryson, maybe plays 3 times with Bryson, gets 2.5 points, then wins a singles match, and now it's 3.5, and that's probably good enough to win at 16-1. It's a really interesting dynamic. So I'm interested in whoever goes out with Bryson. And then the other one, sorry, I know I'm giving you a lot of options here, but there's a lot of ways this can play out. Tony Finau at 12-1 is sneaky good for top U.S. player. We've seen him play he played very well in France, makes a lot of birdies, hits it far, can be paired with anybody. I think he plays more than we're expecting him to. So those would be the guys that I would focus on. So I've already made bets on Cantlay and Finau. I will wait to see until Thursday night, Friday morning to probably get Bryson and whoever his partner ends up being. The European side, top European is much more top heavy, right? Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy, 3.5-1 and 5-1 to be the top European point scorer. These two are almost certainly going to play all 5 matches. Rory McIlroy has played all 5 matches in each of the last 4 Ryder Cups. And then the 5th one a decade ago, he played 4 out of the 5 matches. So you know he's going to play a lot. Jon Rahm seemingly on pace to play 5 as well, because that's the path to victory for the European team. The path to victory is the stars showing up and shining brightly. Jon Rahm getting you 3.5 points. Rory McIlroy getting you 3.5 points. That's the pathway to them winning this event. So they're going to play a lot. Then after that, it's kind of a toss-up. And I think that the Europeans will opt for the hot hand. Now who that ends up being, maybe we'll see, with those opening pairings, who can get hot and likely roll out 4 or 5 sessions. I think Paul Casey's a really good candidate for that. He's 10-1 basically across the board. DraftKings has him at 8 and BetMGM has him at 9, but you can get him at Caesars for 10-1. And, the thing with Paul Casey is he plays an American style of golf. Whistling Straits is not going to be too big for him or too hard for him or anything like that. He's a great ball striker, is going to need to hopefully be paired with a good putter. Maybe we can get some Paul Casey, I don't know, Matt Fitzpatrick pairings. That would kind of be fun, something like that. But Paul Casey at 10-1 to be the top American. I just think that the third spot in this the third spot in this European lineup, if you're like power ranking these guys, I think it's up in the air. You assume it's going to be Victor Hovland, but he's a rookie. He's his first time. You don't know what you're really going to get out of him. Paul Casey at 10-1 is very, very interesting. I'm not sure I would bet anybody else here. I do think that Matt Fitzpatrick is a hair undervalued at 16-1. He's a much better driver of the golf ball than he was at any other point in his career. That's going to come in handy here. Putts it well. I don't know if he's going to get out enough. Again, if we see him out on Friday morning, I'd be more apt to bet this 16-1 number. Top combined point score. So this is a little bit more difficult. So this is kind of where you have to think, probably the guy who is the top point scorer probably comes from the winning team. Doesn't have to, but likely. So everybody's odds kind of get longer here. I think that, well, first of all, I did already bet Tony Finau. Circa had Tony Finau at 35-1 or 30-1. Now down to 25, 16-1 in some places, which makes me think that I made a good bet. The interesting one here is Scottie Scheffler, 41-1 at, I think that's FanDuel, to be the top point scorer. So the Europeans, or I keep screwing this up, the Americans have an interesting situation where half the team is a rookie. And a lot of times in Ryder Cups, rookies, they get like, okay, you're going to play your 2, maybe 3 matches, and we'll see you in a couple of years. That type of thing. But with a team that half of it is rookies, they're going to have to play these guys. And if Scheffler gets a really good pairing and goes out Friday morning, maybe with Bryson, which is, again, what I think is going to happen here on Tuesday morning. I don't know if they're going to go out on Friday morning, but I think that's what Bryson's pairing is going to be. 41-1 is really, really long. Incredibly long. So I would be interested in that. Now, when it comes to kind of the exact score situation or margins, let me pull up some of those. The exact score props, and this is actually day 1. Let me grab full on. This to me is a little bit of a fool's errand. So 15 to 13 in favor of the United States is it's the shortest odds. It's 9-1, and then you kind of get Europe 14.5 to 13.5. That's 10-1, along with US 14.5, 13.5. This to me is a little bit of a fool's errand. So we talked about this a little bit with the Tour Championship, where you need the no matter what sport it is or whatever it is, the athletes' incentives to align with your incentives. That's not always going to be the case for the correct score prop, because if this thing is over with 4 matches still out on the golf course, those 4 matches and the players in those 4 matches have kind of lost all incentive to really care, right? It's over. It's been decided. Which scares me. And now you go from a situation where, okay, maybe you had 4 matches or 3 of them were tied, but this thing is already over. The losing, or the team that won, they don't really care. It's just we've lost all incentive. And I do not like when my incentives do not align with the athletes out there. So you're probably not going to find me betting any exact scores, but the margins exist. The margins of victory exist. And quite frankly, maybe I made a little bit of a misstep here, and I might just have to re-bet this. If you're betting Europe to win, or maybe you don't want to bet Europe to win, but you want to kind of hedge in some way, Europe to win by 1 to 3 points is 3.5 to 1. Remember, they're plus 200 to hoist the trophy, or to win. Actually, to win. To hoist the trophy, their odds are a little bit shorter because that includes them tying. They would retain the Ryder Cup. But if you assume if Europe wins, it will be close. It'll be by 1 to 3 points. That's 3.5 to 1 on your money. So maybe that's actually a better bet than just saying Europe wins. Europe winning by 1 to 3 is 3.5 to 1. Because then if you don't assume that Europe's going to blow out the United States team, 4 to 6 points is 9 to 1. 7 or more is 18 to 1. You assume that's not going to happen. So I would probably consider coming back here and hitting the Europe by 1 to 3 point scenario. And you can make really correlated bets with this, right? Like what's the likely outcome? If Europe wins by 1 to 3, Rahm and Rory probably played really well. So if you bet Europe at plus 350 to win by 1 to 3, and then you went and got, 3.5 to 1 and 5 to 1 on Rahm and Rory to be top European point scorers, or even top overall point scorers. Like, those are correlated bets that in golf, a lot of times we don't get opportunities to make correlated bets, right? Because there's individual players out there doing their own thing. This is one of the few opportunities that you can make a really correlated card for what you believe the outcome is going to be. The final one that I'll leave you with actually was presented to me by Jeff Feinberg when we did do this odds checker preview, and I liked it, and it makes a lot of sense. So he likes the day 3 winner, which is Sunday singles, to be the United States, minus 152. Europe is plus 175, and a draw is 700. That is just for day 3, just for singles. So 12 guys go out. They play against one another. Now, this kind of cuts into my Europe is going to win thing, but maybe this is the hedge that I make, because in theory, singles, Sunday singles, it probably should be the least volatile of formats because everyone's playing their own ball. It's more of standard match play. The United States team, if you just line these guys up, 12, 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, whatever it ends up being, and it's not always going to be like that, they're probably favored in 10, maybe 11, depending on the matchups. At worst, like 9 of the 12 matches, they're probably going to be favorites in. So for them to win day 3 minus 152 makes a lot of sense. And maybe this is the way that I hedge if I build out a card that is heavily correlated for a European victory, maybe this is my little hedge, or maybe we see how the first couple days go and then we make this bet. But it does make sense that when you line up the 12 versus 12, with the U.S. being such favorites in likely all of the matches, or most of the matches, not all of them, because Rahm won't be an underdog, and Rory probably won't be either, depending on who he gets, is intriguing, and it's very, very interesting. So A million different ways to go. You can leave in the comments what your favorite bet is. There's so many options that I didn't even cover. So leave me with that, or you can tweet me as well at RickRunGood. Best of luck this week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.